Hey everyone, History Mystery Man with you from Bowling Green, Ohio. Today I'm at the Wood County Historical Center and Museum, but from 1869 through 1971, this was the Wood County Infirmary, the poorhouse, the home, they called it, for the mentally challenged, people out of work, people hurt who couldn't work. If you were hungry, any number of things, you might have stayed here. The building right behind me, the lunatic house, put up about 1885, 1886, for the violently insane, whatever that meant. The main structure here off on the other side was built in 1868, 1869-ish, but all very interesting. They have a World War I exhibit going on now. The grounds here, absolutely beautiful, maintained by Wood County. They do a spectacular job. We're gonna roam around today and check it out. Welcome to the Lunatic House. I'll fit right in. Beautiful, there's the original West Wing. Check that place out. They built in 1869. They have a World War I exhibit inside right now. But an Eastern Wing would come a little later in the 1870s, but the original wing came in 1869. We're on our way in. This place is so cool. Check it out. A lot of original woodwork.
This part was built in 1869. This is the West Wing. It's the Wood County Poor Farm. So in Ohio becomes a state in 1803. In 1816, the Ohio General Assembly passes a law that authorizes care of the poor, paupers. By 1831, they put the task of caring for the poor on the county commissioners. This is known as indoor relief. Everything else is known as outdoor relief. The vast majority of people that needed to live on indoor relief were the elderly, and the counties were buying these massive farms between 200 and 500 acres, but the residents couldn't maintain them. So in 1850, they changed the name from Poor Farm to Infirmary to better reflect the people living in these types of buildings. This is the precursor to the modern day nursing home. But people were moving in and out every day. People were dying. People were coming in, staying a few days. Some people stayed one day. Some people stayed 50 years. If a person came to the Wood County home between 1885 and 1900, we have a building on our site called the Lunatic House. They would assess their level of mental illness. Now, there was no talking therapy. This idea of a therapist did not exist in 1885. A lot of this was done just by observation, not necessarily talking to a person. And a doctor would recommend whether or not a person needed to be sent to an actual mental hospital. And after about 1900, they decided to start bypassing county homes because they did not want people who had severe mental illness living in places like this, because the ultimate reason is that the superintendent and matron were in charge of maintaining the farm and the home. They were not equipped to deal with people's personal issues, and they had enough to deal with the elderly and people with physical disabilities living here, that someone with a mental illness on top of that was just way too much for them to handle. So yeah, you're supposed to work the farm, you're supposed to work in the house. In theory, that's what was supposed to happen. In reality, this place was full of people who were either sick or too elderly to work on the farm, so they ended up having to hire paid staff to maintain the farm.
The place is beautifully restored.
Well, we appreciate our collaboration with the county commissioners.
I bet you
They
do.
help keep this building from falling down.
Are we in the center section now?
We're in the center wing, and right now our focus is on World War I.
Didn't the women stay in the center wing? Did I hear that right?
The women lived in the center wing upstairs, and the men lived in the east wing. There would have been separate dining rooms per the Ohio State Board of Charities, so that's the men's dining room.
And I understand you guys have like a tea party in here today?
Yeah, we do monthly teas, and this
Oh,
year's
that's
theme-
cool. Ladies here for the tea party?
Yes.
Getting ready for tea time at the Wood County Historical Center and Museum. Wind kicking through today, giving this place a little extra character. Grounds here beautifully kept, the buildings. I understand one of the last county poorhouse sites in Ohio in which most of the original buildings still remain very interesting, as is that building, the Lunatic House, which housed the violently insane. It was actually a wooden structure prior to 1885 overlooking a hog pen, believe it or not. Someone obviously thought they deserved a little better. The Lunatic House completed in 1885. Let's have a quick peek inside. Can't go up there. Woo. Check that out. Look at that original staircase. Imagine the traffic that went up and down that case over the years. A historical look at American mental illness. The violently insane were kept in this house, which of course has a little spooky feel to it. At least it does for me. Let's check out some of the spacious quarters. Not all that spacious. This is a tight little cell equipped with some steel bars. Apparently you can see the steel encasement on the windows. They're very little tiny cell. Just gonna check everything out here. But the violently insane, whatever that means, lived here. At one time, they could handle about 80 patients throughout the whole infirmary. During the Great Depression, I understand the population here swelled to about 140.
So,
okay, we're heading over to, this must be the East Wing.
This is the East Wing. This is the start of our World War I exhibit. We sand the walls down to look to see all the different layers of paint, and then we pick what paint we want to put in that room. So originally that color.
And so you've tried to match it as best you can,
Yep.
it looks like. Yeah, that's interesting. You went way down to the original and brought it back.
Yeah.
That's cool. What's this room?
So this here would have been a men's dormitory style living room, but this room here is talking about World War I and American involvement, how America became
And I'm sure it
involved.
switches out over the, when you
Yes.
have a new exhibit coming
Next
in.
year we'll be on the Poor Farms of Ohio, so this will all come down and we will put the new exhibit throughout the 17 rooms in the museum. This here room talks about patriotism versus nationalism because so many immigrants came to the United States, especially from the countries that the United States was fighting against during World War I. So I asked people to, that's what the purpose of the mirror is. You are a reflection of the sacrifice your family may have made getting on a ship and coming to the United States in search of a better life. I know that's the case with my own family. And so...
Did it come from overseas?
My paternal side is from Slovakia, and he left right before World War I broke out. My other side is Polish. It is a 1914 world map. And so our visitors are asked to place a pin where their relatives may have migrated to the United States and what country they came from. Like I said, to get them thinking about if you migrate from another country to the United States, can you still love your country of migration as well as your country of birth?
I think so.
I think so too, but there was a lot of question whether or not that was the case
Sure.
in 1914. Everything you see is either from our collection or was loaned to us from people in the community whose family members fought on behalf of Wood County.
Yeah, my grandfather fought in World War I, and I know he was not the same ever again when he
No.
came back. I don't know what happened over there, but
Well-
he suffered with it all his life.
Most likely it was probably from being in the trench.
Yeah, yeah.
So we knew we couldn't have an exhibit without a trench. So we built the trench in our basement, and we have an example.
Wow.
Minus the water, the dead bodies, and the rats.
What are we representing here? Heading to the trench or
We're
in the
in the
trench?
trench.
We're in the trench, okay.
Yep. And we built this trench so people could get a feeling of what it may have been like to be living in one of these for months at a time.
Oh, look at that narrow passageway. Claustrophobic. Wow. Welcome to World War I.
So when we go upstairs then, we enter Wood County's involvement in the war. Before we go on to this, we did a mini exhibit to add to this year, which is leisure time in Wood County from 1920 to 1939. So what happened between the two wars? So of course in 1918, November 11th, 1918, World War I ends. Now what happens when they come home? So the visitor can come upstairs and take a look at leisure time.
That old radio.
That's Warren G. Harding giving his return to normalcy speech, and so we have to credit the BGSU Sound Recording Library.
That's actually Warren G. Harding's voice.
Yes.
Cool. President in the early 1920s.
1920s.
Yep, from Marion, Ohio.
Yes.
What, by the way, was up here during when the people were here?
This would have been dormitory style living. So much of this building is modeled after how hospitals were originally.
You guys have done a wonderful job restoring this place over the year. I know that's
It has
been at the
been
labor of a lot of different
For 40
people.
years. We have to really thank the county for being such a wonderful advocate for this building.
Thanks, Wood County. We appreciate it,
Yes.
especially history geeks like me. Thank you so much.
So this here, now, like I said, now you're talking about Wood County in World War I. So this talks about how you were drafted, how you signed up. We went through and spent 4 months and located information on all the men and women who served on behalf of Wood County so people could look up their relatives. This is the armory that was torn down about 10 years ago. There's a CVS.
That thing lived till 10 years ago?
Yeah, there's a CVS. I think it's
where was it?
where the CVS pharmacy is, on Worcester.
Oh, too bad. It got torn down.
You're being drafted, so these are pictures of the gentlemen at the courthouse.
No,
They've been drafted. They're
I
going.
absolutely love old black and white photos like this.
Yes.
Every face on there, and I mean every face, has a story to tell,
Yep.
and I want to know about them. And
So again, as you go through, you have been drafted. Here's your message from Woodrow Wilson.
thanks for the draft card, Woodrow.
We leave this room set up like an infirmary bedroom just because they would have had the blue stars in the windows and the stuff that was going on at home.
The Blue Star, is that what started off the Blue Star in
Yes.
the window thing? That like a safe house or something?
No, it indicates
No?
whether or not you have a family member in war.
Oh,
Our most famous resident would be
those
this.
are lifelong residents.
A lot of them lived here for a long time, and in fact,
Residents of the Wood County Infirmary were buried here, as was Catherine Andelfinger, born December 14th, 1814, died September 13th, 1902. In memory of all the infirmary residents, many of whom are buried here, just next door to the main structure.
this is all about how they were getting mail across
Postcards.
to Europe.
Postcards from home.
Yes.
What soldier wouldn't have wanted to get one of those in a trench in Germany in World War I?
You can read what was going on in the newspapers locally through headlines from the Sentinel Tribune.
Austria breaks with U.S. Armistice signed. That's the one. That's the headline everybody was waiting for.
So this room here, a lot of these things are borrowed. It's more personal stories of local residents who fought on behalf of Wood County for World War I. And these are things from our collection and things that were loaned to us. We talk about the Victory Garden because many people think it started during World War II, and in fact it started during World War I. And then this room here, again, is our victory bonds to talk about how they work, how to finance the war. This is something we do not do today. And then the last part of the exhibit, of course, is the armistice. And this talks about how it ends. There's some information on the veterans organizations, information on Gold Star Mothers because it did start for World War I. And then information locally of people in the area who passed away.
Local veterans
Yes. Well, these are all the gentlemen who died.
in the war.
From Bowling Green High School.
Really?
Yes. There were 72 men who died in Wood County during World War I.
Hey, that's it. That's all from the Wood County Historical Center and Museum. This historically geeky lunatic is heading home. But I'm coming back because this place matters, a campaign they have going on right now. And it's worth the visit. Historically preserved, beautifully kept. It's a wonderful place to see and so interesting. You got to check it out. A reminder that I'm dumping all my videos over onto my YouTube channel, History Mystery Man on YouTube. I thank you all for joining me again today. It's been a pleasure having you along for the ride. For the History Mystery Man, I'm Don Radeball. I'll look forward to seeing you next time.